All right, we're back. Top 8 announcement is going on right now. Once we have a locked-in bracket, I already chose the featured matches I wanted for top 8 for you guys, but they may have changed based on the machinations of the tiebreaker system. So maybe we'll see Rakdos versus Yawgmoth. Maybe we won't, depending on if that's one of the if tiebreakers stay the way they were. That's what we're gonna watch, at least the top 8. Beky's been here for several hours. I've been here for a couple days now. We're moving through the event. We had our team 10K. Now we're on our modern 5K, and we've got just the top 8 remaining. So, thanks for being here. We've got a coupon coming out tomorrow. You all qualified us, or yourselves rather, for 10% off on Nerd Rage singles all week on Twitter tomorrow. There's going to be a tweet with the coupon code that was enabled by us reaching 10,000 followers on Twitch. That's awesome. We're going to bring up the payouts now so you can see what the players are playing for. I know if you've been here all day, then you've seen all this, but not everyone has been here all day. Not all of you are as loyal as the person who got up at 7 a.m. Pacific time and is watching all day long. So here is the payouts the players are in the running for, in addition to Nerd Rage Championship Series points, and the top 4 qualify for the Arena Qualifier Weekend, which is how you can make your way into what is the set championship and basically the current equivalent of the Pro Tour. Our next event, if you're enjoying the coverage today, is in 2 weeks in Milwaukee. We're playing Legacy on Saturday, Modern on Sunday. And I think that covers all the things I was supposed to bring up.
Yeah,
so
now we get to see what we're all waiting for.
Yeah, here is the bracket. Here is the top 8 bracket that if you've been sticking around for the last, I don't know how long that break was, 15 or 20 minutes. Thank you for your patience, and here we are. So we've got Will Kruger, the #1 seed with Orzhov Hammer, who finished in the top 4 of the team event this morning, playing against Forrest Winstead. So this matchup did change based on tiebreakers because it looked like it was going to be Merfolk versus the 4-color Yorion. It is not. It's now Orzhov Hammer versus Merfolk. That's, I would guess. Beky, how do you feel about a fast deck with equipment versus a deck with little to no removal?
It seems really rough. I mean, a lot of people kind of iconically have started to say that Orzhov Hammer is kind of like this turn 3 deck. And at least what Merfolk has that a lot of other decks lack is blockers. But if we see a Spreading Seeds or one of the creatures that allows for some evasion from the Orzhov Hammer deck, or the Merfolk deck is able to push through some damage with Spreading Seas, or one of the other creatures that can make things into islands and get that island walk turned online. That seems like a pretty intense match, and we'll be interested to see how that turns out, but it is not our decision we do have a variety of interesting decks, so bear with us as we've omnipotently picked which matches we want to see play out for this top 8.
Yeah, okay, so Kruger on the play there, looking good. We've got Robert Hayes on 4-color Yorion versus Mohammed Kadi playing Grixis Death Shadow. This one will be one of our more interactive ones, I would imagine, as the Yorion decks generally have Solitudes and other such removal, and Yorion Solitude particularly good against Death Shadow because you can get a 2-for-1 special if there's actually more than one in play, due to the life gain effect being kind of a detrimental bonus for the Death Shadow deck. We've got Matt Hoey playing Orzhov Hammer against I didn't get the pronunciation of that name. It's against Temur played by I'm guessing here Tylamin Ovel. I'm sorry, I don't know.
That sounds right.
And
no, that sounds right.
I mean, well, of course it sounds right because you're sounding it out just like I am with our English language based pronunciation. The problem is that some names come from languages that are not based on English, and then we end up butchering them. Anyway, this matchup here, Hammer versus Temur Rhinos, which I believe we saw a couple times yesterday, and I think we can say that Hammer is probably favored game 1, and then Rhinos gets to board in stuff like Force of Vigor to try and fight back, and we'll see how that plays out. But the match I believe we're going to watch is Andrew Tenjum, who we have not seen on camera today, against Stephen Borakove with Golgari Yawgmoth. So Lurrus, Rakdos Lurrus versus Golgari Yawgmoth. these decks should both be, there should be interaction going both ways. The Lurrus deck trying to have it to push through more damage as the Yawgmoth deck, as we saw earlier. It's a value based deck, but it's the combo that does exist in the deck causes it draws cards based on life points. So the more damage the Rakdos deck can push through, the better. Although what we watched earlier was kind of a race. This is going to be more of a struggle, and the Undying creatures will actually potentially be blocking as opposed to just existing to combo off with Yawgmoth. So really, it should be quite a bit different than what we saw earlier. The players are shuffling. If we have time for the deck list before the match starts, then let's go ahead and take a look.
Yeah, because I am very interested to see this Rakdos Lurrus decks. I know we've been seeing it a little bit here and there, and then I'm pretty sure that it had a top 8 in Vegas last weekend as well. So kind of finally getting to show off what it can do. Getting to play Torok Dread Cantor, I believe is the name of the card.
3 Turoks, and that card is a nuisance to play against. I really find it frustrating. What is also of relevance here is Graveyard Hate for the Undying creatures. There are 3 Dothy Voidwalkers.
Oh, so that card is so annoying.
Yeah, I love this card. I think it's so impressive, and I feel like it should get more play. Now, maybe just black isn't at its best in Modern right now because discard is worse than it's been in quite a long time.
Yeah.
And but Dothy Voidwalker will shut down a lot of the Yawgmoth tricks, and there's a Nihil Spellbomb for Urza Saga to tutor up. So there's a decent amount of Graveyard Hate main deck. So that is going to be relevant. Let's go ahead and look at Steven Borakove's deck.
This is not it, I don't think.
No, this is...
Because this is just the same deck that we were looking at, but we'll try to get it off. We do believe that Steven is going to be playing Golgari Yawgmoth, so we're trying to get that switched up so that we can
We may think so. We'll see what actually happens.
We may think so. We may not. We may not know what Steven is playing before we get down into this game.
Well, we can just find out with the viewers while we watch the game. How about that? Let's go down to the table. Players are shuffling. Andrew Tenjum on the left. Well, it shouldn't even make that assumption as things have been twisty and turvy a few times throughout the weekend. But yeah, looks like Andrew Tenjum on the left, which means that is Steven Borakove on the right. These archetypes are generally self-submitted by the players when they register their decks. So it's conceivable that Steven is playing, Thalids and Andrew is playing Burn, but probably it's Rakdos Lurrus versus Golgari Yawgmoth. You never know.
Do never know as our players shuffle up, get ready to start off. Tenjum will be on the play as he is the higher seed in this match.
Yeah, I can see the other players that are not in the feature match here sitting down. Looks like they're getting ready to begin. I believe deck lists are being handed out right now, as is generally the custom in Magic events. In any event where there is coverage, the player here we have the correct deck list. I was going to say,
all right.
With any event that has broadcast coverage, generally top 8 deck lists are exchanged amongst the players, as otherwise it creates an unfair advantage if one person has been on camera and the other has not. So deck lists will be exchanged, and now we see Steven Borakove's deck. Mana creatures. Let's see, we've got Birds of Paradise and Ignoble Hierarch. We have the Undying creatures in Yawgmoth and Stranglergeist, and a single copy of Jarl's Messenger. 3 Grist, 4 Yawgmoths, some tutoring, some singleton enablers. I believe. Okay, so we did not have a Hapatra.
Yeah,
the other Yawgmoth is new. That we saw. There is a Blood Artist. There is a Jarl's Messenger, but in addition, there's a Hapatra. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Hapatra is a card that I believe is a 2-mana 2/2. If it connects with the other player, I believe you get a Death Touch token. And then there's another element to it as well that I can't bring to mind, which is probably the reason it's in the deck. It's a combo enabler as far as putting counters on creatures. So we'll bring that up when we get a chance.
Yeah, I believe it's something along the lines of with -1/-1 counters, you get the Death Touch Snake tokens, I believe, but we can maybe potentially pop up Hapatra Vizier of Poisons for us in just a moment. Also interesting to note that we are choosing to do something like a Blood Artist over Zulaport Cutthroat, which is what we saw previously.
Okay, Hapatra Vizier of Poisons. whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you don't get a token creature, you get a -1/-1 counter on target.
Well, you kind
creature.
of get a token.
Well, yeah, right. Whenever you put one or more -1 counters on a creature, you get the token. Okay, that's how it works. So you do get the token by connecting with the other player. It's just a secondary effect, not the primary effect. So.
That does nice things with Yawgmoth.
Yeah, yes, it does. So, Andrew Tenjum gonna have to fight off these value. We're gonna get to see the Yawgmoth deck as a value deck as opposed to a combo deck. And a lot of I mean, Ragavan's not gonna look so good against Yawgmoth. There's just no way to make that exchange work well for the Rakdos deck. And that is a detriment. And this may be a matchup where Ragavans actually get sideboarded out because the odds of them connecting, I mean, they could get chump blocked by, Birds of Paradise or something, and that's fine, trade for Andrew Tenjum. But the fact that Yawgmoth is just stonewalling it, even through a removal spell, is kind of miserable.
Yeah,
so
certainly not ideal if you're this Rakdos player, but I think it will also be really difficult if a lot of this discard is able to totally get online. I think it's really going to be hard for this Golgari Yawgmoth deck to kind of get off the ground. It's going to have difficulty taking flight, kind of as we saw in a previous round where somebody was playing Abzan Yawgmoth, kind of just having the same situation where I saw a lot of ways to generate mana and a lot of the kind of cheaper, easier creatures that you use to stabilize in the early game and get yourself to the point where you have a Yawgmoth on the field, but then just was never able to really bring it all together. And I think, especially for this Rakdos deck, is going to have just an easy time kind of dismantling a lot of what the Yawgmoth deck is going to do. So I think this is going to be an interesting matchup. I am kind of leaning the way of the Rakdos deck initially, but I'm also very interested in being proven wrong. And I would love to see one of these Yawgmoth decks finally get to go off, because I feel like we've watched them make a lot of game actions, but not bringing a lot of it home.
All right, so we are waiting. Let's see. Oh, I see. All right, so we're still got another minute to go or so, or hopefully not 5, before the players get started. They're still going through kind of the procedures that just have to happen, paperwork filled out. All these players have now earned the right to be paid money, as well as many of the players who did not make top 8. And preemptively, because often what happens when you're in top 8 or top 4 is when you lose, then you want to go home. So this or go to dinner or whatever. So this information gets filled out beforehand. How do you want to get paid? And verifying deck lists are being correct, because you don't want to. Generally, there's what do they call it, a courtesy deck check in the top 8, because the judges don't want these players to run into having a game loss. And whereas in the Swiss, you can't check everybody's deck list. Commonly in top 8, it is done before the games start play. So that's being sorted out. Beky, is anything you've seen in the last few hours? What card or what deck has your opinion changed on over the last few hours? Anything?
Is it going to be wild if I say Merfolk?
No, because that's what I was thinking also.
Okay, cool. All right. Good to know, because I know it was kind of just like an unfortunate situation that we got to see the opposing deck not really get off of its feet either, but even just thinking about how that Merfolk deck would play out against a lot of these other decks that we've seen, I mean, I think I can understand why it's in the top 8 right now. Spreading Seas obviously is just like a very good card, being able to have other creatures that have similar effects to that, at least to cause your opponent to stumble for a little while, and then just getting it in for a bunch of damage that people can really stop as a result of it seems extremely strong in this format right now.
Yeah, so it turns out, so we actually looked at the deck list. There are no Spreading Seas. There are 2 similar effects. There's the Merfolk Dockhand, which is like the Rashad Port Merfolk, 1-drop, and then the other 1-drop is the Tideminder that with Kicker, it is effectively a Spreading Seas as a creature. Yeah. So instead of getting a card, you get a 2/2 out of the exchange. So those are the Spreading Seas effects, and yeah, such strong interactions against random things like Tron, against ever-present things like Urza Saga, and then occasionally just mana screwing an opponent, and also giving yourself all your creatures being unblockable.
Yeah.
So we are ready to go. As you can see, the players drawing their hands. I believe we watched Steven mulligan already, but Andrew's drawing his 7 all. So either both players are on a mulligan or both players are on 6, I think. I'm not sure. Steven definitely on a mulligan. Oh, maybe Andrew's on 7. Yeah, Andrew's on 7, and here we go. So the top 8 is underway. Andrew Tenjum on the play with Dragon Rage Channeler, and Mishra's
Whew.
Bauble, excellent start. Surveil, can we get Andrew Tenjum's potential graveyard onto the screen? I don't know if it exists. Maybe he's going to put it there naturally. It's hard to tell
Mhm.
since there's nothing in. Yeah, let's move that up a little bit.
Yeah, if we're able to, but as you mentioned, Yawgmoth going to be able to do a lot of blocking while we're getting some things. Looks like we're scooting over to a different match and then scooting back to this one.
That's okay. Just somebody pushed the wrong button. It was like there's one button that's like ask the players to move up at half inch, and then the other button is switch to their match. And we just hit the wrong button. That's okay. Here we go.
All good.
So the camera angle, actually we didn't even ask the players to move, just the camera angle was switched slightly. Good job by technical producers of NRG Gaming. And Thoughtseize follows up this Dragon Rage Channeler Surveil with just a Mishra's Bauble in the graveyard. So the turn one Surveil card was, or the Mishra's Bauble card was kept. And we see a Grist, 3-land, and something under Verdant Catacombs. Yeah.
Why do I feel like that looks like a Traverse? I'm fairly certain the deck was not playing Traverse the Uvenwald, but that is what that card looks like.
All right. Well, that's the problem with trying to guess on artwork. Is it is in fact definitely not.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is either, but I will grant you it doesn't look unlike Traverse the Uvenwald, but that is definitely not in the deck. Maybe Andrew Tenjum will kindly spread that a little bit more. It could be. I don't know what the left third of a Strangleroot Geist looks like. Could be one of those.
Oh, yeah, I think that actually might be correct.
It could be. Yeah.
Oh,
it's gone.
Steven, never mind. Let's see the card.
It could be an Eldritch Evolution. But we do have. It
could be a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, there's not too many purely green cards in the deck. It's definitely not a Court of Calling. So, Grist in the deck. Yawgmoth comes in. All right. There we go.
Yeah, and it is a Geist. Okay.
And here
had to see the other half of the card.
Yeah. Here is a Yawgmoth. So again, yeah, there's Dragonman has just no chance of getting in this game. But Dragon Rage Channeler, on the other hand, with 3 types in the graveyard, almost all the way to Delirium, and then you can take to the skies. Confirmed
by Joe Lossett, Yawgmoth better than Ragavan.
Yeah, I've been saying that for 6 months now. But yeah, if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, yeah, I mean, I that's my everyday. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I just tweeted out Yawgmoth rocks, Ragavan stinks. Maybe I'm embellishing a little bit here, but there's a Shizo, Death Story, I think. But anyway, that's the land that can give legendary creatures fear, I believe. That's one of the only instances of fear still existing in constructed formats. It has been basically completely replaced by Menace. And there are several legendary creatures in Andrew Tenjum's deck that can play with.
Oh, okay. The only card I think I was able to make out in Tenjum's hand is an Unholy Heat, which that would give Tenjum Delirium, but is choosing to simply hold it back, as these Yawgmoths are not maybe the best targets to be using for that. Sometimes you want to wait to see if you can enable Delirium itself for this Unholy Heat.
Yeah, sometimes you want to
hold on to it.
I mean, sometimes you want to kill a creature that doesn't just double in size when you kill it. Yeah, so yeah,
definitely, that's definitely fair.
But it is unfortunate for Andrew, as I'm sure he would be happy to kill and spend Unholy Heat on something and fly over for 3 damage. But there's a Grist. We can bring that up. Grist, is it the Hunger Tide? That's what I want to say. Andrew Tenjum's going to take a peek at some of the text on there. We can bring it up ourselves. It is a removal spell for a just creature or a planeswalker at the cost of one of your own creatures, which again is not a cost of a creature, as this Yawgmoth will double in size and Dragon Rage Channeler gets taken down. Other abilities, +1, create a black and green insect token and then mill a card. And if you flip over an insect, you add a loyalty.
And don't know that that's going to be coming into any relevancy, at least not that latter portion. But
I mean, it's not super likely, but there are 3 copies in the deck, and you could gain a loyalty for free at some point.
That's true.
Also, the ultimate, each opponent loses life equal number of creatures in your graveyard. That can add up. But here we have Kolaghan's Command, take down Grist, get back our Dragon Rage Channeler, which is now going to be full powered. So
Very nice. And also that will enable the Delirium on Unholy Heat as well.
Yeah. All right. So Andrew Tenjum with a Dragon Race Channel returning to the board, and then Inquisition of Kozilek. Surveil looks like a keeper. Drolf's Messenger,
Ooh.
the only copy in the deck, hits the bin, leaving behind a Horizon land. And yeah, this doesn't look too bad. Tenjum, even in damage racing right now, 3 versus 3, with more relevant cards left over.
Yeah, but it is down a little bit on life, so that could end up catching up a little bit. But that other land draw, not exactly what I'm sure Steven wants to see, but at least it is a nurturing peat land, so we are able to do a little bit of a cycling. We're getting an update from one of our other match that Hoey was able to win the first game with the Orzhov Hammer versus Merfolk, I believe was that one.
Yeah, Matt Hoey is up a game. First game done. I don't think you get any free points for
Temur
being
Footfalls.
I don't think you get any free points for winning game 1 of the top 8 faster than anyone else does. Because certainly the money would have been on a Hammer deck accomplishing that.
That's true. That's true.
Graven Cards, and then Turok will take down Steven Borakov's leftover land in hand, but he's got his Horizon land to get a replacement, untap, draw off the top, and it looks like a land in a Birds of Paradise. So again, nothing too exciting going on here. And Andrew Tenjum did get to take a jump in the damage race because Steven Borakove was unable to attack into the Summoning Stick Dragon Race Chandler the turn before. Now he gets in for 2. And Turok stands strong as a 3/2 at the moment. Whenever Steven discards any additional cards, it will grow in his protection from white, which is completely irrelevant in this game. Sometimes annoying, though.
Yeah, don't even think we saw any kitchen finks in the sideboard of this Golgar Yawgmoth deck, though it was in the sideboard of one of the previous ones that we watched.
Yeah, your Turok versus Omnath is quite annoying, as Omnath can just never block or attack. And Turok, notably, it conceivably could matter at some point in the game, is a legend, so this Shizo can give it fear, which means only, let's see, Turok and Drolf's Messenger can block, and I guess Grist tokens. I'm sorry, also Hapatra. But none of those are in play right now, so this Turok is unblockable anytime Andrew Tenjum pleases. Another Grist was drawn by Steven, and that will allow probably the Yawgmoth that does not have an experience counter on it to trade for either the Turok or the Dragon Race Channeler. Beky, what do you think? Are you shooting down Flyer or are you shooting down the Legend that can potentially get fear?
Yeah, this is kind of a hard decision, actually, but I think I'd be potentially a little more afraid of Turok, especially if you're trying to go for a race, you might as well kind of commit as many creatures to the board and then just get rid of the thing that can potentially block later.
Well,
Dragon Race Chandler probably not going to block, so but not like it's going to matter.
Well, it actually didn't matter at all because Steven didn't actually kill either creature. He just made a token, trying to potentially preserve the loyalty on Grist, but Unholy Heat takes it down. And Andrew Tenjum, I believe, picked up an Urza Saga, so he gets in a solid attack here. Chump block by Birds of Paradise. Urza Saga. Didn't Burkov's got some work here to do to catch up this game?
Certainly has some work to do, and I know that there is a Lurrus in the hand. Yep, and now on the battlefield for Andrew Tenjum, so going to be able to play a permanent from the graveyard every single turn that this Lurrus is in play. Getting to surveil off of this Mishra's Bauble, figure out what card Steven is going to draw, I imagine will be the play once more as it was. Oh, maybe? Okay, not deciding to know what Steven is going to play this turn, though we did last turn.
Andrew Tenjum is not worried. He's an experienced player. He can figure out what Steven Burkhoff's going to draw without using the Mishra's Bauble, and then he'll just calculate himself. Nope, we're going to look for next turn. Okay. So untapping anytime you're untapping with Lurrus in play, you're doing pretty good. And Urza Saga rolling up, and we really haven't seen. Steven has access to 4 Yawgmoths plus Quarter Calling plus Eldritch Evolution, and none of those have appeared. And so his kind of special interaction of his deck is not present in this game, and Andrew is kind of doing his thing. Steven finding it hard to keep up.
Yeah, it's hard when pretty much all of the cards that Andrew has played have basically replaced themselves, whereas Steven just hasn't had that luxury with this deck so far.
Yeah, maybe Yawgmoth not the best creature in the format. Does trade with Turok, though. Unfortunately, Turok, even though played as a 4-drop, is technically a 2-drop, so can be cast with Lurrus. Oh, that's true. Of most of the things in the graveyard there, Andrew Tenjum goes with Mr. Bobble again.
Likes knowing what Steven is going to be drawing. And
Yeah.
I can respect that decision. All right, so what's in hand? Another Turok and a Ragavan, it looks like. So I think that that's more of a reason to end up doing this Mishra's Bauble play on repeat, knowing that if something like a removal spell is drawn and it's not immediately getting played, meaning that we can go ahead and use Rock kind of to force Steven's hand, but that is going to be enough for Steven, the Hapatra, not enough to bring him back into this game. And now we go to sideboards, and I believe we see some Veil of Summers in there too, and I would bet that those come right in.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But you know what? We've already looked at these decks a little bit. I'm going to make a decision. Let's go ahead. If the backup match is in the middle of a game right now, we're going to watch the match we're playing all the way through, but we can spend a few minutes catching up with it based on the polling earlier today. That's what people want to see. So if the other match is going, let's just go to it. Here we go. So we'll look in here for a few minutes. Matt Hoey versus Tylamin Ovel. And if someone on staff wants to go find out how to pronounce that name, that would be great, since I'm kind of guessing. All right, so what do we see here? We see a Force Surveyor removing a couple of permanents from Matt Hoey's side of the board, something that if you're just playing the Orzhov Hammer deck, you just have to be accustomed to happening. This Force Surveyor is in a lot of people's sideboards. There's also a Fury with not enough relevant targets right now. So Matt Hoey up a game. I believe this is game 2.
Yes.
All right, 2 mana. Generated the hard way. Stoneforge Mystic. Another Springleaf Drum. Be able to make more if Matt needs it for something.
Ooh, all right. Just going to go ahead and get the namesake of the deck.
All right, so I'm told that the preferred is Thai. So that's what we're going to go with for the Temur Rhinos player. So Matt versus Thai. Let's see. Matt up a game as the higher seed, 1 on the play. Thai with, we saw this a few times today with Peter Tragos, Crashing Footfalls just constantly being drawn and suspended as opposed to cascaded into. It's just not the ideal way to play this deck.
Not the ideal way indeed, but Hoey is not doing too much just yet, though. Now, this Urza Saga is going to be a little bit of an impending doom situation. Trying to see exactly. Yep, the other Force of Vigor in hand certainly going to make it more difficult for Matt Hoey.
Beky Bell speaking too soon, as this Urza Saga is probably going to be. There's not even actually. There's only one good target on the board right now. So Urza Saga and
one of the Springleaf Drums.
Yeah,
maybe?
Springleaf Drum or an Ornithopter. That's. I mean, neither one of those really seems like it's worth a card. But when you're picking up Urza Saga, you accept that the rest of the bargain is you have to kill a card that's kind of inconsequential to complete the 2-for-2 trade. Saga and Springleaf Drum are the ones that get dropped, and Matt Hoey's still with some action in hand and plenty of time to get it going because Thai is in need of more mana. It's not currently available. Is it off the top? It is. Steam Vents is found. That turns on the Violent Outburst, which can generate 2 4/4s, and all of a sudden Matt Hoey's free and easy lifestyle of not worrying about Thai doing anything is going to come to an end.
And I saw him knocking the top of his deck as a result of that thought process. Only 1 to land in play. Springleaf Drum able to generate a little bit of mana, but not enough as you would maybe like going forward.
No. Okay, Esper Sentinel. We may see the Violent Outburst in response. As why give Matt Hoey an extra card, especially when he is clearly thirsting for a land drop here. Basic Island, and then Ty's going to flip over some unknown number of cards from the top of his deck until he finds Crushing Footfalls, put 2 4/4s into play. Maybe Ty has tokens, unlike some of our other camera matches today where our players were using dice, which was fine too, honestly. I'm not too picky about that kind of thing, even though I'm picky about almost everything else. This one, even if Matt Hoey's going to lose this game, he does get to see some of how Ty might have sideboarded here,
Mm-hmm.
as he's actually getting to see a good chunk of Ty's deck. There's a Footfalls, and it looks like our primary match is getting going again. So we'll head back over there, and with Ty in advantage here, maybe we can come back to that other match for a potential game 3. Steven Borakove leads on Birds of Paradise. Tenjum Blood Crypt, bolt the bird, right? Isn't that what people say?
Bolt the bird is the famous phrase. Seeing it here in action at the NRG Championship Series Modern 5K Quarterfinals.
All right. So, well, wait. Steven has an Ignoble Hierarch. That's like a replacement bird, but he didn't replace it. He just placed Strangleguys in attacks. All right.
Bolt my bird. I gotta get something back. Gonna go for your life total a little bit, I guess,
I
is the
suppose.
thought process. I mean, if you're not like, if you don't have anything in your hand to play off of playing the Ignoble Hierarch this turn, I do kind of respect just like going in for the damage, you know?
Of course. Yeah, it's almost certainly the right decision, especially if there's a grist to follow. You want your Undying creature on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Will Kruger has won his match, so he continues his rampage. He, I believe, was, if not the #1 seed, he was at least one of the undefeated players. So good showing by him after top 4 in the team event. He's going to skyrocket. Well, he is really the only player that cannot skyrocket up the Nerd Rage Championship standings because he was already
He's
number 1.
already so high. You did
was
an
already
interview
on
with him
top.
earlier, and he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I'm kind of very far ahead."
Yeah. Yeah, he has done exceedingly well this year. He actually won the last event pre-coronavirus that Nerd Rage ran, which, even though that was like 20 months ago at this point, that did count as part of this extended season.
Ooh. All right. So no land drop to be had for Andrew Tenjum on this turn 3, and simply spending that time to Unholy Heat to destroy Ignoble Hierarch, while Steven goes for a fetch to get a Dryad Arbor.
All right, and here is a Grist.
Oh.
Stranglegeist can sacrifice itself to kill Dragon Rage Channeler and then Undying back. And
no, we're going for an Eldritch Evolution.
Oh, really? You were right. You were right. I just assumed what was going to happen, and I'm clearly wrong. You know what happens when you make assumptions, Beky. You're wrong some of the time.
This is true.
As it was here. So, Dragon Rage Channeler facing down Yawgmoth and 3 friends. That's a situation that favors the Yawgmoth. Also, 2 Undying creatures.
Oh.
Bad news. Steven Borakove, now we've talked about this. Can draw a card for a trading of a life point. Steven Borakove has a lot of life points right now.
A lot indeed, and on a rampage for Andrew Tenjum's creatures, goes for the -1/-1 counter to get rid of Dragon Rage Channeler here, and is going to start just kind of sifting through the life, and that's going to be good enough for Andrew Tenjum.
All right, so that match is tied up at 1. Let's see if Ty can... No, wait a minute. What happened here? I thought we left this game, and there was a pair of 4/4s that were looking to potentially dominate the game. And instead, we see a couple... Well, okay, so we see a couple blockers.
They are kind of dominating the game.
Yeah, we see a couple blockers there. I think Petty Theft just bounced a Colossus Hammer to change what was intended to be a block that killed a 4/4 into a chump block. Such as it goes. All right.
Ooh. What's rough?
Okay.
When you leave a match and Matt Hoey has 1 land, you go back, you watch an entire other match complete, and Matt Hoey still only has 1 land in play.
Yeah, you are right about that. So Matt Hoey with 3 life Ooh, okay. I think, man, I would have been, I couldn't have been able to help myself here. I would ask that Thoughtseize before continuing the game just to see what's in Ty's hand. We are going to find ourselves back in the new booth now as both games are sideboarding for game 3. These are 2 of our 4 quarterfinal matches. Will Kruger's already won his. So these players are seeing who is going to be joining him in the top 4. Although, given how Will Kruger has been absolutely busting up everyone this weekend and really on the Ridge series over the last season, it may not matter much.
Yeah, we believe that Will was playing against Merfolk, so took that match. Kind of a match I would have been interested to see, considering that Joe and I mentioned that we were both kind of interested in and surprised to see Merfolk doing so well.
You would have chosen other than the this is the match I chose. You
Yeah.
are saying that you disagree with my
No, I
inclination
don't.
of watching. I'm trying
disagree.
to provide quality entertainment for people that want to watch Modern Magic. What are you doing here? You're just second guessing me everywhere, left and right. This is, oh man. All
If
right.
I'm not going to, who will, Joe?
Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring up the bracket again. We'll look and see how things got sorted out. Well, you are correct. Will Kruger did dispatch the Merfolk deck. We are watching both Andrew Tenjum and Stephen Borakove and Matt Hoey versus Ty. So we've got left Robert Hayes and another name. We have Robert Hayes against Mohammed. I'm not going to take another shot at getting that last name wrong. Four color Yorion versus Grixis Death Shadow. No surprise that match is still playing.
Yeah, seems like a difficult match for Grixis Death Shadow, kind of as you mentioned. Solitude getting to do some kind of brutal things to anyone trying to play Death Shadow.
All right, so the players, it looks like opening hands are being dealt out. So let's go ahead and go back to the table. Andrew Tenjum, 7 cards in front of him. Steven either is a very thorough shuffler or is on his way to 6.
Hopefully we will be figuring that out quite soon. Tenjum this time will be on the play again after losing that second match.
You know, I miss when a player dealt out their opening hand, you could see what mulligan they were on. Now everyone deals out 7 every time. I mean, you could come into a game, players deals out 7 and then puts back 5, and you're like, oh, you're on a mulligan 2. I didn't notice. But
yep.
6-card hand here, Thoughtseize from Tenjum, and we see, let's see, Ignoble Hierarch, Endurance, Quarter Calling, and 3 land. I mean, that's not a bad mulligan 6. We've certainly got some plays, and we have acceleration. So Andrew has got, if he's got a bolt, I imagine he's not taking the Hierarch, but I don't see one, and that is the choice. Okay.
Yeah, just going to make sure that no acceleration can be had, keep Steven from making as many plays as possible until Andrew can start to really set up Urza Saga. Going to be a great play and allow us to just get, this is a Daruthi Voidwalker, I believe, onto the field.
Yeah, Daruthi Voidwalker is going to disable Undying. Strangleroot Geist onto the board as well. That was Steven's draw on the turn 1. And yeah, I mean, Voidwalker's great.
Yeah.
It allows otherwise kind of garbagey removal spells to work just fine again. Oh, I'm sorry, not garbagey removal spells, but perfectly reasonable removal spells to work as they're intended against these garbagey undying creatures.
Yeah, were you trying to call Unholy Heat a garbagey removal spell?
No, I was trying to comment on the somewhat inept Strangleroot Geist, who is only good when he can return from the graveyard.
That's fair.
Wall of Roots picked up by Steven. I mean, I guess, Hierarch will still, another one would power up this Geist. We do have a Quarter Calling. I don't expect us to get Ignoble Hierarch with it. Andrew Tenjum's going to be feeling pretty good here. Voidwalker is just surviving so far.
Yeah, surviving, but that's kind of all it needs to do. Just it being on the field is enough to kind of stop Steven from a lot of the things that this deck is trying to do.
Blood Artist in Steven's hand. That's not going to do anything with the graveyard shut off. It's like, this is, I mean, how is this card? It's a Daruthi Voidwalker is a 3/2 rest in peace that can play things that get exiled to it, and it has Shadow.
Yeah,
who dreamed up this card?
I wish I
And-
could tell you.
And on top of that, how is everyone not playing it? I mean,
Oh, I mean, I've bought 4 copies. They're all in different commander decks. And I'm just
okay.
waiting. I might be building the Rakdos deck because if there's a good place for this card to be, I'm very interested in it.
All right. So, Pithing Needle tutored up by the Urza Saga. Likely going to preemptively name Yawgmoth, as Andrew doesn't know about the Court of Calling in Steven's hand, and that is generally the most dangerous card out of Steven's deck. But Andrew Tenjum, probably a better player than you or I, may have other ideas on what is the most effective card to name.
Yeah, it's hard to go ahead and name Yawgmoth when you already have Daruthi Voidwalker here. So maybe you just do it as another thing that is more difficult to remove in case the Voidwalker gets taken care of. But I also have not seen a ton of removal out of this Golgari deck.
Yeah, that
So
we've
I'm
seen.
kind of interested.
We've seen Grist. We've seen there's 3 copies of Grist, which can be tutored for, and we have the Yawgmoths, which are now disabled, but Grist can take out the Voidwalker, but not the Needle. So, and the Needle does need Yawgmoth. So, double protection for Andrew Tenjum. He has it covered in 2 different ways, and Steven, I mean, those constructs are 3/3s. That's not, superhuman. They can't even tackle through Wall of Roots right now, but still, they're gonna get there. Steven's gonna need some help.
Steven certainly is. 2 hate cards going to make it very difficult for, as you mentioned, some of these kind of mopey creatures to really be able to shine how they normally do in a deck like this. Young Wolf.
Who are you calling? Who are you to
Mopey?
call Young Wolf Mopey? It's a single mana for a green 1/1 that when it goes to graveyard gets exiled immediately by Dalthy Voidwalker. That is hardly mopey. That
You're
is
right.
like an infant powerhouse. He's just small. He wants to grow, and this Dalthy Voidwalker's in the way of that. That's all there is to it.
Just a
He's young.
pup.
It's in his name.
You're right.
Give him a break.
And something that is going to stunt Young Wolf's growth is, in fact, this Voidwalker.
Yeah.
Hard for a wolf to beat the void.
Yeah, he's a young wolf facing down like the product of like millions of years of evolution of the Dalthy horror.
Yes.
All right. So what else we got going on here? We have Pirate Spellbomb.
Another way to make these constructs a little bit bigger to do some attacking with. Also going to allow for a Surveil, which is quite nice, and moving Torok from library to graveyard. And I believe that this is enabling Delirium now.
It is, as Urza Saga counts twice. And that is all it takes. Enchantment and a land, plus, well, I guess the land part doesn't matter. There already is another land. And here is a swing out. Full blast.
Red zone, here we come.
You're right. These constructs being 4/4s now. Okay, there's an endurance. That will wipe the graveyard, which means that Dragon Rage Channeler can very easily be blocked. So that's something. Unless Andrew Tenjum can reassemble Delirium after losing his graveyard, but that seems tough.
Certainly does. We'll see what exactly is the decision here. Looks like we do have this Unholy Heat, so can at least get rid of the blocking.
Unholy Heat's going to take down the Endurance, so that's going to get shuffled away with the Endurance trigger, but if Andrew doesn't do it now, the Unholy Heat would only be doing 2 damage and then not able to kill the Endurance. So he's forced to make the decision now, even though he'd rather have the cards in the graveyard. And Steven is now considering if he might have a response here.
Yeah, what could you cord for to be able to interact with this? If you cord here, you could cord for 3? Because one from the minus on Wall of Roots.
So I think there's 4 creatures. So I think it would be for 2.
So not able to get another Endurance, which I think would probably be the moment of trying to decide.
Sure. All right, so Dragon Rage Channeler can be blocked. Andrew Tenjum does still have the Pirate Spellbomb available to interact this turn, but if he uses that, his constructs will shrink. So he may judge that to be not worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. Trying to figure out exactly how to block here. Feeling a little bit hesitant about blocking with these undying creatures as we should be, but seeing if we can throw enough things in front of the Voidwalker to potentially...
Well, we're not blocking the Voidwalker, as it has Shadow.
Oh, correct.
As I think, in fact, it was just reminded to Steven. So, waiting for the blocks. Looks like Wall of Roots is planning on defending against the Channeler, which means the other creatures are either dying or else Steven just eating the damage. Which, I mean, he's at 14. He could just take the damage and then hope to... Okay. So...
All right.
So the Dragonlance Channeler is going to die. I do kind of like this. If we're going to give up the Strangler Geist, I'd rather do it by trading with a creature than by chump blocking.
Yes.
You see the die on top of Steven's Exile Zone. Those are delineating the cards that Dauthi Horror can actually cast. I'm sorry, not Dauthi Horror, Dauthi Voidwalker. Dauthi Horror, different shadow creature from days gone by.
Still just a Blood Artist and Quarter Calling. The Windswept Heath was the draw for Steven's turn. And now with less creatures in play, this Quarter Calling getting a little bit dwindled in power.
Yes, and Steven's life total rapidly falling, and he's going to need something good to try, and I just don't think he is enough. I think sure, there's Dried Arbor. That's another blocker. It still has your cord to function at full power, because even though it can't tap for mana, it can tap for Convoke, but there's just not enough. Steven needs more than one card to fight this off, and he just doesn't have it.
But Blood Artist will be able to hopefully get us back a little bit of life buzz in this game, just a little bit longer.
No, Blood Artist is not doing anything. Blood Artist, any life the Blood Artist intended to gain will be again trumped by the Dauthi.
This card is nuts in this matchup.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
you even said it at the beginning of this match as a rest in peace, but I keep just like trying to think of ways, and then every time the answer is just this black colored rest in peace.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, Colgan's command. Cast from Tenjum to kill the Dried Arbor and get back Dragonlance Channeler. Steven puts a counter on those Wall of Roots, which would imply that he's likely going to cast his Quarter Calling here.
I mean, I think that Steven has to try to stay alive. Oh. All right, so it looks like our backup match that was Hammer Time versus Rhinos was taken down by the Temur Rhinos player.
Okay. So Matt Hoey defeated, and Will Kruger playing the same deck advances. So 1 out of 2 for them, for the pair of them. And yeah, so we await the result of Andrew Tenjum and Steven Borakove. And I feel like the writing's kind of on the wall on this one.
Yeah. To put it nicely.
Yeah, I think Steven's now empty-handed, and there's just, is this thing really do what I think it does?
Is this card for real? That is in fact a real card that was printed into Magic the Gathering. Okay,
so yeah, it's just, I mean, Andrew wouldn't really have much pressure except for just the one Urza Saga. Got all this. I got these 2 constructs and one of these artifacts, and Pirate Spellbomb's going to exile Blood Artist, and here's another attack. Forced blocks, and Steven Borakove fighting to the bitter end, which we have now arrived at.
Yeah, even if we drew something like a Damnation, we don't have the lands to play it, so it is going to go... Yeah, there was the Yawgmoth, but Yawgmoth just was not going to be able to do too much. Yep, Andrew Tenjum leaving that Dauthi Voidwalker on the table to say, yeah, this card's kind of nuts. It pretty much carried this whole game.
Yeah, this is the continuing theme of, like, no matter what deck you're watching, it's like, oh, Modern Horizons 2 turbo-powered this deck with Voidwalker
for everybody
and Turok. in this deck, and then we bring back these ancient cards like Shizo to give Turok fear, because why not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's where we are at. The top 8 is done. Will Kruger defeats Forrest Winstead and advances. Robert Hayes defeats Mohammed and advances. Joining them are Andrew Tenjum and Ty. So Orzhov Hammer, Rakdos Lurrus, 4-color Yorion, Temur Rhinos will reset the bracket. We'll get these players sat back down and continue the action. Top 4 coming up. Beky and I will still be here. You're watching Nerd Rage Gaming. We'll be back.